Let's take a look at the best player still playing that was born in each respective city in England. Bath, Ashley Barnes. I know the age-old saying that people from Burnley don't look like they've had a bath in about 5 years, but that's exactly where Ashley Barnes was born. Not in an actual tub, I assume his mother forked out for an actual hospital and maternity ward. But yes, born and raised in Bath, he's so far scored 10 goals this season, battering in bicycle kicks and finding himself linked with Chelsea. Not bad. Birmingham, Daniel Sturridge. Troy Deeney might feel a little unlucky to miss out here. To a man who's been about as much use to West Brom as a dead houseplant, on his day, Daniel Sturridge is a quality finisher. He grew up in Birmingham and progressed through the youth ranks of both Aston Villa and Cadbury Athletic. Quite fitting, considering his hamstrings are probably made of chocolate. Bradford, Fabian Delph. Did you ever think Fabian Delph would be playing left back for a team who wins a league title with at least 90 points? I'll be honest, I thought he was about to become the next Jack Rodwell, a fate I wouldn't wish on anyone. Bradford born, he left the academy for Leeds United as an 11-year-old back in 2001. Brighton, Lewis Dunk. Brighton seems to be a breeding ground for nauseating YouTubers, which begs the question, why don't I live there? But not so much for footballers these days. Lewis Dunk is about all that region can offer up at the moment, and he's not even that good. Bristol, Jack Butland. Jack Butland is a man in demand. Arsenal, Liverpool and Wolves are all battling over the 25-year-old signature, and his price is only going to ramp up depending on whether he outmuscles the likes of Pickford and Hart in Russia. He was born in Bristol, but started his career 97 miles up the M5 at Birmingham. Cambridge, Sylvana Banks Blake. I'll be honest, Cambridge don't have much to show for their efforts. Well, I mean, they have a world-renowned university which has produced some of the brightest minds on the planet and bored at, but in terms of footballers, I know they're retired, but the fearsome Man United duo Luke Chadwick and Sylvana Banks Blake. Carlisle, Matt Jansen. Matt Jansen's career is a damn shame. It was all going so well at Blackburn, with Man United and England both sniffing around, until a bike crash put him in a coma and sentenced him to a career of lower league football. Fair play, at 40 years of age, he's a player-manager of Chorley, where he's been since 2010. Chelmsford, Greg Halford. Greg Halford has not played Premier League football in a long time. There is good reason for that. But hey, the Cardiff defender could be back soon. He's Chelmsford's finest. Chester, Ryan Shawcross. Well, obviously Michael Owen is the name staple to Chester's fridge, but since I'm trying to stay away from the ones stuck in retirement homes, or unfortunately for some, the BT Sports studio, let's go for Ryan Shawcross. Arsenal fans will remember him. He's the guy that nearly put Aaron Ramsey in a wheelchair. Coventry, Gary McSheffrey. Graham Alexander is a Coventry alumni, but at the moment, the man of the hour is 35-year-old Grimsby Town winger Gary McSheffrey. So basically, lads, since Messi's wife seems to be having a new kid every 6 months, maybe the mayor could ask them if they want to spend a romantic weekend in Coventry without condoms. Derby, Jamal Lascelles. Yep, Jamal Lascelles might be a Nottingham Forest man, before Newcastle of course, but he was actually born in neighbouring Derby. I'm guessing they don't like him much there. Durham, Marcus Madison. Durham is a sleepy ghost town that I'm surprised is even classed as a city, but there we are. I wouldn't imagine a place with a cathedral, a castle and a botanic garden is going to home anything other than a bunch of people playing chess and reading each other's obituaries. Marcus Madison is currently the best of the bunch, a 24-year-old winger at Peterborough. Exeter, Ethan Ampadu. When your best export is a 17-year-old sideshow Bob, you know the men of the city need to up their games in the bedroom. To be fair, Ethan Ampadu is highly rated at Chelsea, having signed from Exeter City last year. He was 5 years old when Zidane headbutted Materazzi. That is mad. Gloucester, Stuart Fleetwood. Ever heard of this guy? Yeah, didn't think so. Gloucester are not producing too much footballing talent at the minute. Someone needs to introduce those school kids to a football in PE. The best they currently have to offer is a semi-professional 32-year-old striker currently at Redditch United, the 17th club of his career. Lads, come on. Hereford, Connor Wickham. Oh dear, Connor Wickham, like Daniel Sturridge, is a forgotten footballer. Injuries have robbed him of appearing on the pitch, hasn't stopped his bank balance from getting fatter at Crystal Palace though. Born in Hereford, the former Ipswich prodigy is a 25-year-old failure, says he who makes YouTube videos for a living. Hull, Josh Windass. Well, this is easy. I can't use Dean Windass since he's retired. That's fine, I'll just pick his son. Josh Windass is currently one of the shining lights in a pathetically weak Rangers side, and for any Rangers fans who take umbrage with that, did you miss the Old Firm game last week? Windass came through the youth ranks at Huddersfield. It'll be interesting to see if he follows in his dad's footsteps to one day play for Hull. Lifelong dream, huh? Leeds, James Milner. James Milner made his Premier League debut in November 2002, 2 months after Ethan Ampadu was born. He is now preparing to play a Champions League final against Real Madrid. This is how you don't burn out after peaking too young, Wayne. The consummate professional, this Ribena nutcase was born in Leeds in 1986 and had to tear himself away to Newcastle when they were relegated in 2004. Jurgen Klopp has said Milner keeps going on and on about how great Leeds are. Clearly he hasn't checked the table in a while. Lancaster, Scott McTominay. James Beattie comes from here, but yeah, Scott McTominay is the modern day export, despite being Scottish. Funny one that. Born in Lancaster, the Man United midfielder has Scottish ancestry and decided not to be Jack Grealish once everybody found out his name. Leicester, Lee Tomlin. In the past, the town of Leicester have produced Dion Dublin and Emil Heskey. Now, Lee Tomlin. Right, Lincoln, Sam Clucas. Lincoln is not a big place, but Sam Clucas has put them on the map after some stellar displays for Swansea that has led some to tip him for an outside shot at the Ballon d'Or. Admittedly, these people are confined to nut houses and this man could well be getting relegated. Liverpool, Ross Barkley. Okay, so this is a tough one. Do I go for Ross Barkley, who is in danger of becoming a forgotten bench warmer at Chelsea these days, or do I go for Wayne Rooney, whose career is slowly falling off a cliff at Goodison Park? I'm gonna go for Barkley purely because the 24-year-old has more potential and more left in the tank. If he can get back on the pitch for Chelsea, he could yet have a great career. London, Harry Kane. 8 million people live in London, that is essentially 2 Irelands. Harry Kane rises above them all, of course he does, the Tottenham man is the best player in the England squad. Manchester, Marcus Rashford. Gone are the days when Man United's team was filled with a bunch of Mancunians, but still Marcus Rashford isn't too shabby, is he? It seems like only yesterday everybody was laughing at the state of the club for including this gangly unknown teenager to save the day against that Danish crowd in the Europa League 2 years ago. Nobody is laughing now. Newcastle, Michael Carrick. Yes, I know he's 36 and he's going to retire in about 20 minutes, but Michael Carrick's brain and passing ability are unparalleled at Manchester United, and he'll have gone his entire career without playing a single minute for his hometown club, having grown up in Wallsend and Newcastle. What a waste. For Newcastle, obviously, Carrick is probably thanking his lucky stars he escaped that train wreck. Nottingham, Tom Kearney. Andy Cole is probably Nottingham's finest export of the last 20 years, but Tom Kearney is the current diamond. The Fulham midfielder was born there to a Celtic supporting taxi driving father before getting snapped up by Leeds in 1998. Norwich, Alex Bruce. Yep, I know what you're thinking. Isn't Alex Bruce Northern Irish, technically? The man was born in Norwich on account of his dad playing for them before his big move to Manchester United in 1987. Oxford, Matty Taylor. No, not Matthew Taylor, who used to batter in goals from the halfway line, although he did also come from Oxford. Matty Taylor, the man who probably needs to wear a trench coat whenever he leaves his front door after swapping Bristol Rovers for City last year. Peterborough, Izzy Brown. If David Bentley was still playing and not sunning himself out in Marbs while rewatching highlights of that goal he scored against Arsenal on YouTube, he'd have a claim for a spot here. Instead is 21-year-old Izzy Brown, who's had about 16 loan spells and 4 years away from Chelsea. There is a mad surprise. Portsmouth, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain grew up in Portsmouth, was poached by Southampton and was an Arsenal fan. He's playing for none of those teams, just the Champions League finalists and going out with a pop star, while his brother is left forgotten about in some wardrobe back in Pompey. Plymouth, Sean Morrison. Sean Morrison is leading a Cardiff City promotion charge. The 27-year-old centre-back was born in Plymouth before heading off to Swindon in 2007. Preston, Phil Jones. Phil Jones is a man who, if he tried to pose for a yearbook photo, it'd probably turn out like something out of The Ring. But still, despite possessing a face that probably terrifies small children within an inch of their lives, he's a half-decent defender. The 26-year-old Manchester United centre-half was born in Preston before joining Blackburn in 2002. Reading, Dominic Solanke. Dominic Solanke is still looking for that elusive first Liverpool goal. He's only had about 25 goals at it. Come on now, lad. The 20-year-old comes from Reading. Ripon, Andy O'Brien. Yes, I know, I'm supposed to be choosing players that haven't retired, but listen, Ripon is a tiny little city. They're not producing anything else. Technically, they haven't even produced Andy O'Brien. The man was born in Harrogate, but listen, I'm making an exception for this one. The hospital is 12 miles up the road. This is the best I can do. It'll just have to do. Salford, Phil Bardsley. Okay, I'm going for Phil Bardsley purely because he's not yet retired, but let's be honest, I'm pretty sure if you wheeled grumpy old Paul Scholes out of retirement for a second time, he'd still play Bardsley off the park, even if he now has a cholesterol to make doctors weep. Sheffield, Kyle Walker. Here's a tough choice. I'll go for Kyle Walker, a man who progressed through Sheffield United's youth system, but Jamie Vardy is also a Sheffieldite, although he was spat out by Wednesday like an out-of-date yoghurt. Their loss. Southampton, Sam Vokes. Sam Vokes, as Welsh as they come, bleeds red for the cause, except he was born and raised in Southampton. Awkward. Stoke, Ryan Shotton. The finest thing Stoke have to show for the last 20 years is Ryan Shotton. Clearly the city is doing something wrong in the gene pool. St Albans, Adam Lallana. St Albans is not a big place. Again, surprises even a city. But Adam Lallana hails from there, and look at him now. Well, not specifically now, the lad can barely walk these days, but look at his bank balance maybe. Or, I don't know. Sunderland, Jordan Henderson. This has been a terrific season for Jordan Henderson, but you can't help but feel he must look at his boyhood club and I wish things were different for them. A man who once sat in the crowd with the Sunderland fans, despite being a Liverpool player, he is a die-hard Mackem. Wakefield, James Bree. I know what you're thinking. Who? He sounds like a type of cheese. He's about as much use as one. Currently an Aston Villa substitute defender. Worcester, Nathan Baker. Did someone mention useless Villa defenders? Nathan Baker is currently at Bristol City now, but yeah, he hailed from Worcester, which I could have sworn was a type of sauce. My geography is awful. Winchester, Danny Ings. Jesus, how many Liverpool players are in this damn list? Danny Ings could play in a Champions League final despite spending the last 2 years on the treatment table. Having been born in Winchester, he'll probably go to Kiev, sit on the bench and wait for all this to blow over. Wolves, Ashley Williams. I'm sorry Wolves, I wish I had a better option for you than Ashley Williams. Again, a Welsh international. What's going on? Is Andrew Gray any better? I don't think so. York, Lewis Cook. And finally, for York, Lewis Cook, the Bournemouth midfielder who has made everyone sit up and say to themselves, why are you ahead of John Joe Shelby in the England squad? Anyway, that's the end of the video, lads. These were cities, remember, not towns, so don't be asking for Barnsley. Are there any players that I've missed? If so, tell me in the comment section below. Anyway, cheers for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.